In today's video, we have Ricky Abyeta. As of now, he's 60 years old, and he's serving 146 years in prison for murdering 7 people in 1991 in the town of CHIMAYO, New Mexico. Ricky was a 29-year-old construction worker in 1991, and on January 26, 1991, he came home to discover his girlfriend Ignaciato, her mother, her sister Mary Ellen, Ignaciato's sister Mary Ellen, who was 19, her boyfriend Macario Gonzalez, who was also 19 at the time, helping Ignaciato move out of the house that Ricky and Ignaciato were living in together. There was other people there, but some people escaped. At some point, Ricky came up with a shotgun, and he shot Ignaciato. He also shot her 13-year-old son Eloy. He did live. He shot the sister Mary Ellen, and while she was holding her baby Justin, who was just 6 months old, they died. The father died, who was Macario. Incidentally, a policeman named Jerry Martinez had gone to serve Ricky with a restraining order that Ignaciato had set up just 3 days prior, saying that Ricky was dangerous and he actually tried to shoot her. Jerry Martinez was there to serve a restraining order against Ricky. He also got shot and murdered. An off-duty policeman, actually I don't think he was off-duty, another policeman happened to have heard the shots. A gentleman of the name Glenn Huber, he was 35, he heard the shots, he went to investigate, he didn't even make it out of his car before Ricky shot him too. So Ricky shoots 7 people, some people did escape, and Ricky flees into the woods to get away from the crime he just committed. Incidentally, he decides that he should turn himself in, and the next day he goes to the police and asks them to not hurt him because he wants to turn himself in. Don't handcuff him. He'll admit to what he did and ends up getting sentenced to 147 years. Of course, he was handcuffed, but it's absolutely incredible that, and kind of not clear why Ricky did exactly what he did other than his girlfriend was breaking up with him. He got 4 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 1 count of involuntary manslaughter, but I don't know who that was for. Total sentence, 146 years, and it's New Mexico's largest mass slaying, but it was a very small town. As of 2010, like I said, there's only 3,177 people there. So, I also have a letter from Ricky. Most of these videos, or hopefully all my videos, will have letters. I've got this one from Ricky, and I'm going to read this letter to you now. Now on Patreon, you can see me opening the letter before anybody else. Greetings in the name of Jesus. I already said that wrong. I'm not even reading it right. It says, Dear Marianne, greetings in Jesus' mighty name. And he dated this October 7th, 2022. I received a notice of a denial of greeting card from you. I am sorry I cannot receive cards, but I can receive letters, and 5 pictures at one time. I take the time, this is kind of hard to read, it's really nice handwriting. Just a little hard to read. I take the time to say thanks for sending a greeting card. Thanks. I'm grateful for that. I hope to hear from you again. Also, if you want, you can JPage me. It is faster than mail. Just visit and it gives me an email address. I would enjoy hearing from you. All is in the same down here in Texas. Weather is cooler than before. Cool mornings and warm during the day, but it is expected at this time of year. I hope and pray that this short letter finds you in good health and in good godly spirit, and that all is well down your way. Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, but sweeter are you, since you took the time to send that greeting card, which I could not receive. Thanks, sincerely, and it almost looks like it says just M, Ricky Abyeta. So I've got to stop this for now and do a little cut here because my phone's about to die. Okay, so I can show you an example of what you're not allowed to do, which I did not know. This is the type of stuff you can't do. And this is not beautiful stationery. That's not the point. It's 30-year-old stationery. But it's also cardstock. Apparently you can't send cardstock. And I'm guessing you can't, I don't know why about the cardstock exactly. Maybe because you can infuse it with something, which is kind of what I'm thinking with different color paper. You can't have glitter, you can't have glue, you can't have stickers, you can't have tape. So, incidentally, they did tell Ricky that I sent him a letter. He had no idea, obviously, what it was, and he did respond to me. So I've been getting a lot of my originals back because they were on the wrong type of paper. So I'm learning as I go. But Ricky was nice enough to actually, oh, it probably sounds terrible to say he was nice enough. But it's been a long time since what he did. And that doesn't diminish what he did, but kind of the point of what I'm trying to do with my videos is talk about redemption, and if somebody realizes they did something wrong, that they are remorseful. So I wrote Ricky back. I gave him my original letter on plain white paper, and then I asked him to re-engage. I sent him a picture of me, a little tiny one. There's my cat. You're always gonna hear an animal in the background, I think. I want to know, why do people do what they do? So anyway, learning what people do, why they do it, what you can and can't send. And I'm hoping to have a letter in most of my videos. Some of them I'll probably do about people who are no longer with us, so they won't have a letter. And once I get the whole ball rolling, I've been sending out a lot of letters, then I'll be able to have more consistent videos. I'm looking right now for one a week. Good for me. Okay, so I found some more information as far as what Ricky's side of the story is from way back when in 1991. There are some things that are different stories from who he was and what type of stuff that he did as far as a job. Some things say he was a welder, other things say he was a construction worker. He was obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, he was an avid hunter. And I'll give a link to what I'm reading here, and I'm just going to read this because this is what his testimony is, why he says the killings took place. Defendant's testimony as to the events surrounding the killings differ significantly from the state's evidence. The defendant testified that he returned in the late afternoon from working in Santa Fe. He came home on the back road and parked at his mother's house, so he did not notice the vehicles that were parked at his house. He then took the paint he had purchased earlier that day down the hill to the garage. Upon seeing the moving operation, it was his girlfriend and her family, basically her entire family, was helping move her property out of Ricky's house. So there was a lot of people there. I found a list that I can also put at the end of this video of just how many people were there. Defendant testified that he decided to take his rifle and revolver out of the garage and take them up to his mother's house, out of concern that Abyeta would also pack up everything from his garage. The two of them have a history where they would live together, they'd be on and off again, and he claimed that every time his girlfriend would move out, she would also take his belongings, so he didn't want his stuff being taken too. Not sure where I left off. He placed a revolver in the back of his waistband and picked up a rifle by the sling. As he started back up to his mother's house, he noticed some of his clothes were being taken to the U-Haul. He went over to the house to ask them to leave his stuff. Defendant testified that as he reached the bottom of the steps, Eloy, which is the 13-year-old boy, Abyeta's son, accosted him with a knife, and during the scuffle, cut his left hand twice. I'm presuming that means Ricky's left hand. Defendant forced Eloy to drop the knife. Macario, who was Mary Ellen's boyfriend, the father of Justin, the baby, was in the back of the U-Haul where defendant saw some of his possessions. When defendant asked Macario what was going on, he testified Macario responded that he did not know, but don't try and stop us because you won't see tomorrow. Defendant then saw Eloy pointing a handgun at him from the cab of the U-Haul. Defendant testified that he reacted automatically by lunging to the side and shooting, not knowing whether he had wounded Eloy. Defendant placed another round in the chamber of his rifle and put it on the porch railing. Defendant was struck on the head from behind and fell. His rifle slipped off the railing. As he grabbed it, it discharged. He continued to recover the rifle and unintentionally caused a third round to be ejected into the chamber. He testified that he felt someone grab his revolver from the back of his waistband. As he turned around to see who had hit him, he caught a glimpse of someone walking by with a baby, which would be Mary Ellen with her baby, 6-month-old baby, Justin. So far, this isn't sounding particularly plausible. Defendant testified that as he was hit on the back of the head, and again the rifle discharged after falling out of his hand. It landed at the bottom of the steps where defendant left it. According to the defendant, he went inside the house to find out who had hit him. He encountered Cheryl. Cheryl is a sister of his girlfriend, in the kitchen, and sensing trouble, grabbed her and spun her around in front of him. She screamed, "No, Rick, stop." Ignaciata had his revolver. Cheryl screamed, "No, Ignaciata," covered her face, and started to bend over. Defendant went down with Cheryl. Defendant testified that Ignaciata fired the revolver at him, but hit Cheryl instead. Defendant and Ignaciata struggled over the gun. Defendant testified that Ignaciata again fired the revolver, but her hand was in the way, and the shot nearly severed the tip of her left little finger. He next saw Ignaciata heading for the front door with the gun in her hand. Defendant testified that as he caught her, Ignaciata bent down, trying to escape. She pointed the gun at the defendant, who hit the barrel, forcing it backwards towards her. The gun discharged, shooting Ignaciata in the face. Defendant appeals his convictions based on the trial court's refusal to give his requested jury's instruction. I don't know anything about that. The lack of substantial evidence in Mary Ellen's death and prosecutorial misconduct. I'll have to look into that more. Maybe Mary Ellen is the one that they were saying was manslaughter. In any case, it's kind of a crazy story what he's saying happened. And being that he wrote me a letter, we'll find out if he's changed his mind, if he writes me a second letter, if he's changed his mind about what he says happened then versus taking responsibility for it now. Told you there's always going to be a cat. There's a cat. Meow, meow. Let's see. That's Dexter. Let's see. In any case, so he was trying to say he was defending himself, and he testified on his own behalf at his trial. Needless to say, he was still convicted, 146 years. I'm going to scooch through some more of this and see what I can come up with, and see if I can get my cat to stop meowing at me.